Alright, today we're having a look at Journey by AquaMaryCat. Alright, so here we are in Journey by AquaMaryCat. The level select tells us that this is a first level from this creator, so we're hoping to see where they start on their level creating journey. And, okay, good. I was a little bit worried, but it was nice that they tricked us like that. A lot of times, first-time creators tend to make gaps a little bit too large, and then you get stuck, and then you can't actually escape. But that does not appear to be the case here. I don't know what's going on back there. Like, why are we falling back in the pipe? I don't think it's a level problem. I think that's just something weird going on with the physics. But we are moving on. Not really a necessarily coherent theme that we're seeing yet. A little bit tricky. Well, you know, that shouldn't be tricky because you could see that it's open in the layer ahead, so you don't actually have to engage with those bounce pads, but, you know, I mean, well, wait, actually, if we don't engage with the bounce pads, how do we move forward? Do we have to, okay, I didn't expect that to work, but it worked. Tension, I suppose? This is a very bright material down here. It's gonna... thank you. It's a very bright material down here. I don't know if I would have gone with something quite as bright as that. I don't know if it's entirely necessary. It doesn't have a great visual look to it, but there's a lot going on in this level, it feels like already. Even if it doesn't have a coherent theme and kind of visual space, I'm still liking the way it uses that space. We've got a hook hat and velociraptors. Yay? Okay. Can this make me go higher? Do I want to do that? Alright. I mean, it is what it is. It's got shot in the face with a rocket, as one does. Now, I kind of feel like you'd want to warn the players that there's going to be some kind of... You'll be shot in the face by a rocket coming up, but... Alright, we're gonna run with this. I'd like to know where the rockets are coming from. Are they done? Wait, the rockets? They're done? Okay. I mean, no? No, they're not. Are they? I am very confused. AquaMaryCat, I'm a little confused. You shot me in the face again. Oh, we've only got 14 seconds left. I don't see this ending well for us. We're probably just gonna have to finish this off camera, but that's okay. That happens sometimes. Ah! Yeah, definitely off camera. But, having fun with it, and we'll talk about this back in the hub. See yas! And we're back, and Journey by AquaMaryCat, and I think it's a pretty solid orange diamond here. It's a good first level effort from a new creator, and we always appreciate seeing those. It's got its positive points. It does have some warts that it needs to focus on, especially when we're considering making new levels in the future, but there was a lot that I did appreciate from this one. And one, although it sounds a little bit like a backhanded compliment, is the fact that it was actually a level. A lot of times we see with new creators that their first level is just a lot of stuff that's thrown together. A lot of times they're not completable. There's no real theme going on there. It's just collected objects. This is actually a level. It's got a start, it's got a finish, it's got gameplay. It tries out a few things with logic that I appreciated, some simple puzzle work that was kind of cool. There's definitely hazards to traverse. So you've got a full realized level here, and I appreciated that. I like the fact that although it took some time to get to it, there was a theme, kind of a space theme. Got low gravity, you've got Oddsock in the cosmonaut outfit, you've got a rocket that you get to climb onto and move on into space, and that those kind of cohere together. They're consistent as a piece, and I do appreciate seeing that. I like the cutscene with Oddsock and the fact that AquaMaryCat actually tried to incorporate a cutscene into that, and like I said, the little simple logic puzzle towards the end there was appreciated as well. So trying out some new things as a creator. Now, as for the negative points, and there were some negative points here, but a few that I want to focus on in particular because they're points that I see come up in other levels as well, and if we can help cut these out early on in a creation career, I think it can make for better levels in the future. And one is hazards and how they're presented to the player. There's 2 points in the level, one minor and one that I think is a little bit more major, that do bring it down in this hazard area. The minor one we see early on in the level. You got the bounce pads with what appear to be electrified objects above them, and we expect them to be electrified because that white sticker material was an electricity hazard earlier on in the level. Now the issue there is actually that third object under the third bounce pad is not hazardous at all. AquaMaryCat expects you to somehow notice, and it's very difficult to notice because the electricity on the white is very difficult to see in general. So to notice that there's no electricity there and just to bounce yourself through it, as opposed to kind of edging around it the way that we did and we didn't need to do. So making sure that when we're presenting hazards to a player, that it is consistent, that this thing is going to be hazardous each time that you see it, so that you can build a way to get around it and you can shape your movement through the level knowing, okay, that's going to kill me, I don't want to touch it. Not to have it suddenly change up in the middle where something that was hazardous isn't, or something that wasn't hazardous suddenly is, unless that's presented through the gameplay itself and is well telegraphed to the player. So that was one. The larger issue I found with the hazards in the level were the rockets that we got stuck on in the video. Now I did eventually get through that section. It was pretty difficult, even for me, and I've done a lot of playing different levels in Little Big Planet over many years at this point. And the problem here is that those rockets are just appearing out of nowhere. There's nothing really for the player to focus on and plan around. So if we're going to have hazards, especially launchable hazards like rockets or plasma material, for example, that's being shot out at the player, to give that a starting point that the player can engage with and say, yeah, okay, that's where it's coming from. That's what I need to plan around. So I built up some pretty simple turrets in create mode, and they've got audio and visual elements to them so that the player can judge when those rockets are going to be coming out and can pick the pattern apart, see a warning that, okay, I need to be jumping now, or I need to be getting out of the way now, hiding now, so that they'll be able to get beyond that point in the future, and as I said, to plan around it. Just giving the player something to latch onto visually can help an awful lot, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to frustrate the player. We don't want the player to feel like they're dying for no reason at all. We don't want them to feel like they're dying unavoidably, because a lot of times when that happens, players will bounce from the level and they're not going to come back to the level. They're not going to try to actually complete it. And then that brings us to another point later on. There's a bit of logic that AquaMaryCat tries out in the level, and I did appreciate that. You've got to roll a key material, a key piece, into the lock area. It's going to cause something to spawn, a block to spawn, that you're going to be able to pull over and then get up to a switch that frees Oddsock. Now there's 2 issues with this particular puzzle, and one is that the key piece is on a rolling bit that can, well, roll away from whatever tag sensor is being used to spawn the block. And if it gets out of range, the block actually despawns. Now, you can get it to roll back into range, and the block will spawn back into place. I'm wondering what logic was used for that. Something interesting is going on there, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. But because it's on a rolly bit, it's pretty easy for that to happen. So just putting it on a bit of square material so it's not going to roll away on accident, I think would have helped with that section a little bit. And also, we noticed that early on in the level, AquaMaryCat gives us a hook hat. There's no real purpose for this, I think, except to give us kind of a space helmet to put on to go with the theme of being in outer space, which was fine in and of itself. The problem here is that the hook hat will not allow you to grab objects. Now, a lot of players are probably going to lose that hook hat before it even becomes an issue because it's before the rocket section. But AquaMaryCat has made it so you can't remove the hook hat yourself. So if you actually make it through that entire rocket section, don't die, get to the puzzle, trigger it, get up to the switch, you'll find that you can't actually pull the switch because the switch is a grabbable material, it's a sponge material. That's natural for the way that LBP, a media molecule, originally made their switches, but you can't grab it with the hook hat on, which means that until you can get rid of the hook hat, the level can't be completed. Now, the easy way to get rid of the hook hat is to die, but I don't know that a lot of players are going to think to do that, and even if they think to do that, they're probably not going to appreciate being forced to die in order to progress the level. So, either not having the hook hat in the level at all, or allowing the players to manually remove the hook hat with the O button, which can be set up in the logic, would let them get around that. But honestly, probably not having the hook hat in the level at all is the better answer there. There was one last little bit of weirdness in the level that I wanted to share. I was not able to replicate this. This was a completely lucky mistake, but I was able to break the level early on and actually throw myself out of the level, run all the way along the bottom of the crate floor, and trigger on a scoreboard, trigger the end of the level. That part, that lucky bounce that I did, I wasn't able to do again. However, I was able to manually jump down out of level later on. So you might want to set up, AquaMaryCat, you might want to set up in the global settings in create mode, not allowing the player to manually jump down so they can't accidentally break the level like that. That might be a good thing to do, but I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of players aren't going to think to do that. They're not actively going to be trying to break the level, but just so that the level doesn't get broken, it might be something worth considering. But I think that pretty much does it here. I had a good time with Journey. I'm looking forward to seeing more from AquaMaryCat in the future. AquaMaryCat, I do appreciate a lot the effort that you put into making this first level, and I really look forward to seeing your second one. But I think that pretty much does it for us here this go about. So, from me, Risco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.